Just kill me fast, she said. The bikers lifted her shirt and saw what they branded into her. The desert night swallowed her screams. She ran until her breath shattered, stumbling into a lonely gas station under a flickering light. Her hands shook as engines thundered closer, 7 bikes tearing through the dark. She dropped to her knees and whispered, "Just kill me fast." Before they find me, the engines stopped and one voice said, "Find you? Who the hell are they?" Kane crouched beside her, his shadow stretching across the oil-stained ground. The woman flinched at his nearness, eyes wild, like a cornered animal that no longer believed in mercy. "Name?" he asked quietly. She hesitated. "Mara," she whispered. "At least, that's what they used to call me." Her voice cracked as she spoke, half memory, half confession. She told him about the men who ran the back roads like a private kingdom, branding their captives with a symbol of ownership. She'd escaped 3 nights ago, barefoot through canyons, hunted like prey. Every step since had been a dare against death. Kane said nothing, but the flicker in his eyes changed. Behind him, the rest of the riders stood silent. They'd seen blood, war, betrayal, but something about the word branded made the air colder. She clutched her torn jacket. "You don't understand," she whispered. "They don't stop. They'll come for me and anyone near me." Kane rose, his leather coat shifting in the wind. "Then they'll find me first," he said. For the first time, she looked up at him, not as a monster on a bike, but as someone who might stand between her and hell. "Before we continue, if this story already pulled something in your chest, tap the like, hit subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. I want to see how far stories like this can travel." Kane turned toward his men. "Get her inside," he ordered. "And bring light." Mara's eyes widened. "Why?" He glanced back at her. "Because I need to see what they did to you." Inside the dim gas station, the smell of diesel mixed with blood and dust. Mara sat on a stool, shivering under the harsh light. The men kept their distance, rough faces softened by quiet unease. Kane approached slowly, his voice low. "I need to see it," he said. She froze. "Please don't." "Mara," he said again, softer this time. "Whatever they carved into you, it's not who you are. But I need to know who did it." Her trembling hands reached for the edge of her torn shirt. She pulled it up just enough, and the room went silent. Burned deep into her back was a blackened mark, a raven's skull split in 2. One of the bikers cursed under his breath. Another looked away. Kane didn't move. That symbol wasn't random. It belonged to the gang that had ambushed his brother 3 years ago. The same men he'd sworn to bury and never found. Mara caught the change in his face. "You know them," she whispered. He stepped back, fists clenched, memories roaring like engines in his head. "I know what they do." She lowered her gaze, tears mixing with dust. "Then you know why I wanted to die." Kane turned toward the door, jaw tightening. "No," he said. "You're not dying tonight." "They are." Outside, thunder rolled, but it wasn't the sky. It was motorcycles starting up, one after another, because the hunt had just begun. The night split open with the roar of engines. Kane's crew tore down the desert road, headlights cutting through the dust like blades of fire. Inside the van they'd left behind, Mara sat against the wall, clutching a jacket that wasn't hers, Kane's. It smelled of oil, smoke, and something faintly human, safety. But safety was a word she'd stopped believing in. Every sound outside made her flinch. Every echo reminded her of the chains, the screaming laughter, the iron brand pressed to her skin. Back on the road, Kane rode ahead of the pack. The mark burned in his mind, that raven skull. Years ago, his younger brother had been caught in a deal gone wrong, and the same gang left their signature in blood. Kane never forgot it. Now it was back, burned into someone else's flesh. By sunrise, they reached the outskirts of a ghost town. Rusted warehouses, shattered glass, and silence. The ravens had nested here before, always vanishing before the cops could move. But this time, Kane wasn't law. He was consequence, positions, he said through his comm. The men fanned out, one on the roof, 2 behind the storage units. Inside the van, Mara heard the first gunshot. Her hands flew to her mouth, then another and another. The sound dragged her back, metal chains, laughter, pain. She pressed her palms to her ears, whispering, "Don't come back." "Don't come back," her vision blurred. For a second, she saw herself on that floor again, begging them to stop. The burn on her back seemed to throb, alive, glowing, remembering. Outside, Cain moved through smoke and chaos. One by one, the ravens fell, until only their leader remained. A scarred man with cold eyes stepped out, gun aimed. "Didn't think you'd find us again, old friend." Cain froze. He knew that voice. The man smiled. "Your brother screamed the same way she did." Cain's bullet struck a heartbeat later. Not for revenge, but silence. Back in the van, Mara felt the earth tremble. Then the door opened. Cain stood there, covered in dust and blood, eyes unreadable. "It's over," he said, but Mara shook her head. "No," she whispered, voice breaking. "Not yet. You killed them, but they still live here." She pointed to her chest. Inside, and that's when Cain realized the real battle hadn't even begun. The sun had begun to set, throwing long shadows across the cracked floor of the old clubhouse. The men were silent, cleaning their weapons, nursing wounds. But Cain's eyes stayed on Mara, sitting near the open window, lost in the fading light. Her back still bore the brand, wrapped beneath gauze. He finally spoke. "You can stay here as long as you need." She turned toward him slowly. "You don't understand," she said. "When they branded me, it wasn't random. They said it was their signature, but it wasn't for them. It was for someone else," Cain frowned. "What do you mean?" Her voice trembled. "They said they took me because of a deal gone wrong. A man betrayed them. Someone with your name." Silence fell like ash. Cain's jaw clenched. He looked away, his reflection flickering in the broken mirror behind her. "My brother," he whispered. "He was running guns for them before I found out. He tried to walk away. They made him pay. And now they made me his message," she said softly. "They didn't just want to break me. They wanted you to see what they could do." Cain stepped back, the weight of it crushing his chest. For the first time in years, his control cracked. "You were never supposed to be part of this," he muttered. Mara stood, trembling, but her eyes were steady now. "You can't fix what they did," she said, "but you can help me live through it." The words cut deeper than any bullet. Cain looked up, a man stripped of vengeance, stripped of lies. "Then I will," he said quietly. "From this day, you're under my name. No one touches you again." Mara took a breath, something inside her shifting. Not forgiveness, but the start of it. In the silence that followed, the club's insignia glowed faintly under the neon light. What once meant fear now carried a promise. And for the first time, Mara didn't whisper for death. She whispered for freedom. Weeks passed. The engines still roared each morning, but now their thunder felt different. Not a hunt, but a pulse of life. Mara woke up to the smell of coffee, the sound of laughter that didn't come with cruelty. Her hands had stopped shaking when she touched light. The doctor at the clubhouse had erased what he could of the brand, leaving faint scars like pale rivers across her back. One night she stood in front of the mirror, running her fingers over them. Not hiding, not crying, just remembering. Cain entered quietly, holding a small box. Inside was a tattoo needle and a tiny bottle of ink. "You don't owe the past anything," he said. "You decide what stays," she nodded. Hours later, where the mark once burned, 3 words now lived. "I am free." The next month, Mara joined a charity ride organized by the crew, raising funds for victims of abuse. Cameras flashed, people cheered, but her voice was calm when she took the mic. "Scars don't mean you're ruined," she said. "They mean you survived something that tried to erase you. If you're still here, you already feel it. Don't let stories like this fade." Tap the like, subscribe, and ride with us. Not on a bike, but in spirit, towards something that still matters. Later that evening, as the sun dropped behind the horizon, Cain watched her from across the field, hair whipping in the wind, a new tattoo glowing under gold light. Freedom wasn't quiet. It roared like an engine, and for once the road ahead didn't look endless. It looked open.